Hello and welcome to another manga spotlight. So I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce this name because it's long as hell, and not to mention I don't speak Japanese, so I'm just going to butcher it. But the English pronunciation is, and wait for it. When I woke up, I got the strongest equipment and a starship, so I went and became a mercenary in order to live as I please while aiming for a detached house. Yeah, that's the name of this series. What is it? What is it with the Japanese, especially with isekais, and there's just their long ass titles. Like their titles are basically their log lines. It's crazy. When I woke up, I got the strongest equipment in a starship, so I went and became a mercenary in order to live as I please while aiming for a detached house. That whole thing is the title of this. So I'm just gonna call this starship, just because I'm not gonna have to. There's no way I'm gonna say that name like in full every single time. But this is basically an isekai, and surprisingly, this is a sci-fi isekai, which I was really glad to actually stumble upon because anyone who's seen any of my other spotlights will know that I tend to read a lot of isekais. They're kind of like a guilty pleasure. Like that's not all I read. I read basically everything and anything when it comes to manga, just as long as if I'll read like the first couple chapters, and if like the characters or the story like grab me in some way, then I'll keep reading them. But isekais kind of have like a guilty pleasure for me because a lot of them are trash, but I still just can't help but read them. I mean, you do have some really good ones out there, like Konosuba, Command will be dispatched, and just like some other non-satire ones that are just good. But a lot of them are kind of like just the cliche fantasy trope. And yeah, I was really surprised to see that there's actually a sci-fi one because that's something that I've always thought about. I always thought like, why is every isekai always like in a medieval style hard fantasy setting? Why do we never see any sci-fi ones? Why do we never see any like western cowboy isekais? How come there's never any like pirate isekais? But especially sci-fi, like I always wonder, there's got to be sci-fi isekais out there. There has to be. And for anyone who's like pirate, you're saying isekai wrong. Is it Iseki? Well, I'm just gonna keep saying it as Isekai, and if it's wrong, just please forgive me on that. But anyways, I always wonder if there's ever a sci-fi one, because I actually kind of thought like I did a video where I pitched my version of an Isekai, like what I would do if I wrote an Isekai, and as I was brainstorming that, one of the thoughts that came up was, what if I just did a sci-fi Isekai? Like everyone's always putting their characters in the past and or like in a medieval setting. What about like a futuristic sci-fi one? And lo and behold, there actually is one, which I'm really glad that there is. So we start off. There's some cliche kind of stuff. You got your quote unquote slave character. I don't know what it is about isekais and slaves. They're always like there's always some kind of like slave character that becomes part of like the harem, which is just it's just weird to me because I'm just kind of like, how can you have a romantic relationship with someone who's basically with you against their will? Even though they do kind of write it so that the character is with them, like because they want to be, but it's just there's just this weird dynamic. Anyways, there you got the slave character. It looks like there could be a harem, but so far, as far as I'm into this manga series, it doesn't seem like there is one yet, but there potentially could be, judging by the covers for the light novel that this is based off of. Actually, this is based off of a web novel. I'm assuming there's a light novel as well, because anytime there's a web novel, there usually always is a light novel. It never really goes web novel to manga. It usually goes web novel to light novel to then a manga adaptation, and then from there maybe an anime if the manga is like popular enough. For anyone who doesn't know what a web novel is, it's basically people who self-publish their stories online. So kind of think, if anyone's familiar with fan fiction, think fan fiction only with completely original characters and stuff. Like you're not using fandom. You're basically writing your own story, and then rather than publishing it, you're pretty much just putting up online for other people to read. And some people will have like, you have to pay to read chapters, but some people don't. Anyways, that's a web novel. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's a novel on the web that people just post without getting published and stuff. And then usually the more popular ones will get a light novel adaptation. The light novel adaptations are always like the better version because light novels tend to actually have a publisher behind it. Well, not usually, they always have a publisher behind it, which means that they have a professional editor behind it. So the light novels are a lot more cleaner. They're basically edited to like get rid of fillers or just things that aren't really important and kind of condense the story down to like its big strengths. And yeah, so light novels are always, for the most part, better than the web novels. And then usually the manga will be adapted from the light novel. Anyways, this is a manga adapted, I'm assuming, from a light novel. I know that there's a web novel. I don't know if there's a light novel. I know the web novel is being fan translated, so if anyone's interested in reading that, you guys can do that as well. But let's get into the story because I feel like I've kind of rambled for way too long before actually getting into what this is about. So this takes place in a Elite Dangerous kind of world. Anyone familiar with Elite Dangerous, the video game? If you guys are, this world seems somewhat similar to that. Basically, there's this video game in this world called Stella Online, and our main hero, who is named Hiro. Yes, our main hero is named Hiro. Hiro. That's not his real name. That's just the name that he uses. I think it's the name that he used in Stella Online. Anyways, he wakes up basically in the cockpit of a ship, and he realizes that this ship is the same ship that he recently acquired in the Stella Online video game. And then he realizes, oh crap, like, am I inside this game? And then the longer he's in this world, the more he realizes, no, like, I'm not in actual Stella Online because this world is a lot different. It's just some parts from Stella Online have kind of seeped into this world. So our hero wakes up and he's in this cockpit of the ship. It's his ship. It's like one of the best ships ever. He talks about how he spent like so many hours and in-game currency and stuff, basically leveling his guy up, his character up until he can get this ship that's it's really fast. It has a lot of great weapons and stuff like that. It's basically an OP ship. So in most isekais, you get the main character gets some kind of OP broken skill. In this, he gets a basically OP broken ship rather than a skill or a talent. He realizes he has no money. He has very little food, but he has a lot of these things called rare metals that he can sell for a lot of money. And before he kind of thinks of his next point of action, he gets attacked by space pirates. And he uses his OP ship and he wipes them out. And then he takes some of their cargo and stuff like that. And then he finds a space station and he goes in and he basically sells all of his rare metals for a lot of money. He basically makes bank. And I kind of like the way this world is designed. It's if you guys are watching this on BitChute, you guys can actually see the panels that I'm talking about. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, you're just going to see this one image, and that's just for copyright reasons. I know reviews and spotlights technically fall under fair use, especially since I'm not showing everything. I'm showing very little of the actual story, and that should be fair use, but YouTube is very poor when it comes to handling that. I already received strikes before for my reviews, so just to be on the safe side, I'm just showing the cover for the volume 1, which is basically like promotional material. They shouldn't be able to strike this. So if you guys are watching this on BitChute, you guys can actually see the images. But yeah, we get to like this cool curved world, and it's just like a kind of cool design. And this world, this station basically has levels, in the sense that there's a level for like the rich, a level for the middle class, and then a level for the poor where anything goes. And our hero, after selling his equipment, he meets the kind of general of the military that kind of runs this station. And her name is Serena, and she basically is the one that kind of hands out the missions. Or at least she hands out the big mission in this manga so far. We meet another character called Elma. She's a elf, and she is basically a mercenary who, by the way, in case I forgot to mention, our hero is also a mercenary. The mercenaries basically this world's version of the adventurers. So for anyone who's not familiar with Isekai, usually it takes place in the fantasy world, and there's these things called adventurers, and they basically join a guild, and they go out and they handle missions. So they're basically pretty much mercenaries. So they go out and they handle missions, and there's different levels. Like there's your S, A, B, C, D, E, F rank adventurers, and that's the same here. Only instead they're just called mercenaries. But in this one, there's no like alphabet ranks. Instead, it's platinum, gold, silver, bronze, and iron. And Hero basically completely aces his tests. He is so good that the guild master actually says, you're technically a silver rank, but I don't feel comfortable enough having you skip iron and bronze since you just started. So instead, I'm going to make you bronze. So you get to skip iron rank, and you're technically a silver rank, but for now, you're going to be at a bronze. But if you keep doing missions and stuff like that, you can easily start climbing up until you eventually get to platinum rank. And platinum rank is where you get the bigger quests, which gives you the bigger rewards. And obviously, that's what everyone wants to shoot for. And he meets Elma, and Elma is basically also a silver rank, and she's been at this longer than he has, since he just started. And she kind of shows him the ropes of, signing up for a guild, how you do missions, the station, how things work. And one of the things our character finds out is that there's no such thing as carbonated drinks. Like he asks her to take her to a store so he can get some soda, and there's no soda. So that's when he decides, you know what, there's no soda, like there's no carbonated drinks anywhere on these like space stations, but maybe there is some on this versions of Earth. Maybe that there's one like on an actual planet somewhere. And that's why he's aiming to buy a detached house on a planet so he can have soda. It's really stupid, but yeah, that's basically his driving force to become a mercenary. He meets Elma and stuff like that, and then while she's showing him around, he sees basically these thugs attempting to force themselves on this other female character. Her name is Mimi. And Elma's kind of like, you know what, this is like the third level, anything goes, just ignore it. Because if you go and you save her now, she's just going to fall into the same situation later. Like, there's nothing we can do. Like, you're basically just, yeah, you saved her from having people force themselves. I'm sure you guys can get where I'm hinting at here. You might be able to stop them from forcing themselves onto her now, but later down the road, she's going to have another group of people force themselves on her, and you're not going to be around to save her. But our hero is kind of like, I just can't witness this. Like, I can't see a woman about to have people force themselves on her and not do anything about it. So he shoots the bandits and basically saves her. And Elma's like, you know what? Okay, since he saved you, you are now owned by him. Because Mimi gives a story about how basically her family was actually like rich and stuff like that, but then her parents got screwed over and were killed, and then they tried to screw over her, and basically they took all her money, and because she has no money, she has to be in the third level of the city, of the station, and because she got saved by Hero, she is now the property of Hero. So Hero basically buys her status and officially makes her his slave. And so she's now the first and at this moment only member of this crew, because Elma is like, she has her own ship and stuff. She's just kind of guiding him on the station, but she's not a part of his crew yet. I'm assuming that she will eventually join his crew. So yeah, so the story so far, it's just him learning the ropes of the way this world works, the way the city works, what it means to be a mercenary, gaining this crew member, and then they basically get a big mission to stop this huge pirate army, the space pirate army from Serena. She basically gives this huge order for any and all mercenaries in the area. And this is basically going to be like that big raid event that you guys see in MMOs, where You have like a giant boss encounter, and like a lot of people from the servers band together to take on this one giant boss, basically this one giant raid. So we basically have that, and that's where the series has ended so far. The light novel is already, I believe, on the third volume. The manga is only like 6 chapters in. We're still in the first volume, I believe. So if you guys want to see more than what's been adapted manga wise, you guys can read the light novel. You guys can read fan translated versions of that online. But yeah, so far I'm really liking this story. I like sci-fi. I like pretty much almost any genre for the most part. So to have like a sci-fi isekai is like really interesting to see what they do with it. I'm hoping they go a little bit more original with stuff and just not have it be the cliche isekai, but just with a different setting. Just because as someone who's read so many isekais, like it's gotten to the point where like now I read an isekai and it's like, okay, I already know what's gonna happen because you're just following the tropes. So I would like to see more originality. So far, this seems pretty interesting. Like we got a character. I mean, it's a sci-fi setting. He doesn't really have abilities himself, other than he's a good pilot. But like his OP-ness comes from his ship. So it's interesting to see how that will play out. And his character is kind of interesting. Like he's a good guy, but he also kind of has like his humorous moments. But he's not like a character that's he's humorous, but not in a self-deprecating like look at this loser kind of way, which is good. It's always nice to have a main character who's not like a complete wuss or pushover or just like a carpet for other characters to walk over. And I guess it's kind of funny how like in this series he basically is like, oh, I'm in another world. All right, well, I'm just gonna live my life positively. Let's go, just do it. Like he doesn't like he's not trying to get back home. He's not like freaking out. He's just like, well, my life kind of sucked. I basically spent my whole life just basically working as a salary man. Like I just from day to night, I just worked in a crappy office cubicle. And then I came home and I spent what little free time I had playing video games. So it's not like I had anything really to look forward to. And now I'm in this world where like I have my own spaceship. I can fly it around space and do missions. And I have a slave girl and I have all these. It's like, I'm just going to embrace this, which is kind of interesting. Like it's a nice take. But anyways, that's when I woke up. I got the strongest equipment and a starship, so I went and became a mercenary in order to live as I please while aiming for a detached house. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys have any recommendations or anything, let me know. If you guys know of any sci-fi isekais, let me know. Because this is the first one I've ever come across. I'm sure there's more out there. I mean, they have isekais of everything. They literally have an isekai where the main character gets killed and then wakes up as a vending machine. There's one where the main character gets killed and wakes up as a hot springs in a fantasy world. Like he's literally just a hot springs. And it's like, okay. Like basically you think of something and there's a series on that. So I'm pretty sure there's gotta be more like actual sci-fi isekais. When I say sci-fi, I mean like actual sci-fi spaceships, Star Wars, Elite Dangerous, Star Trek, kind of EVE Online, that kind of style, Battlestar Galactica, that kind of style, and not just fantasy with some sci-fi technology. So if you guys know like any like sci-fi isekai, let me know. But I mean, if you guys have any stuff in general, it doesn't even have to be isekai. You get that you guys recommend. Hey, I'm totally down to check stuff out. Anything you guys recommend, I always put on my plan to read list. And depending on how much has been, how many chapters have been uploaded, I'll either read it right away and just binge read through it, or I'll get to it eventually. Like if it's something that's like 60 chapters, obviously it's going to take me a while before I can get to there. But if it's something that's like, oh, this only has 10 chapters out so far, it's like, okay, I can binge read that in a couple hours or so. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. Please subscribe if you haven't already, hit the bell for notification. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Dislike if you hated the video. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope to see you guys next time. And I hope you guys stay safe and take care, everybody. Later.